Welcome to the Persuasion Pitch Podcast. I'm your host, Jess, licensed esthetician, makeup artist, and anti-MLM advocate. Okay, everyone, I am sitting here with Tara, and I'm so glad to have her on because she was with Beachbody. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing. All right, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. I know that you were with Beachbody for a while, right? So how long were you with that company?
I was with Beachbody for 7 years, so from 2012 to 2019. I also was with another MLM for a few months. I got sucked into one of those financial marketing ones known as World Financial Group for a few months, but saw the light relatively quickly and got out. But then I stayed with Beachbody for about 2 more years before I finally decided to pull the plug.
Yeah, 7 years is a long time. It's crazy because I actually just interviewed someone that was with Amway for 7 years. So the whole
That's
7 year
a long
thing.
time to be in that one too. And Amway is one of the older ones.
Right. I mean, Amway kind of paved the way. They did pave the way for what multi-level marketing is today. So wild. Yeah, that's a really long time. So you were just with those two, right? The World Financial and then Beachbody.
Yeah. I was with Beachbody first, and then I kind of got sucked into World Financial Group, kind of the promise of I could blend the two together and, make them work together. But then ultimately, I saw World Financial Group for what it is, and Beachbody as well came out with some policies that you couldn't be part of one because they were having issues with, say, like somebody who was a Sensi rep, and then they'd sign up as a coach, and then they try to recruit coaches out of Beachbody and get them into Sensi instead. Right. So they put a hard policy in place that it was either your Beachbody or nothing. So they kind of put their foot down with that one.
Right. I mean, I can see that, but yeah, they don't want to they don't want you taking anyone from their company and bringing them to another company because they may like that one better or something. They want you all to themselves. So okay, so whenever you first got recruited to Beachbody, how did that go? Who were you recruited by, and how did it all pan out?
It's really funny. I was a customer of Beachbody first, is the story it seems to be with so many coaches out there. I'd seen the infomercials on TV late at night or during the day, and it was always the Turbo Jam that I saw, and it looked like fun, like something to do. So that's kind of where I got my exposure to Beachbody. Now I finally purchased the program a few years later, and my very first coach, it was way different back then. This is about 2008 at that point. And, they were just there to kind of reach out to. They were friendly. There was no pushing the business or anything. But of course I could see what she was doing. And I asked her, I said, well, how is it that you can do this? What are you doing? And she kind of told me, and she says, but you're in Canada, you can't, it's not there. It's not available to you guys. So kind of tough noogies. And it was okay, whatever. It finally opened in Canada in 2012, and about 2010, I got with a different coach. And what happened was I was on Facebook, and I was on a page of one of the coaches who's a sister of the woman who does Turbo Jam, and she posted something about it, and I responded to the post immediately, literally within 30 seconds of one another. I had two of her downline pounce on me. They liked and responded to my comment, then they DM'd me, and I ended up going with one of them, and she was the one who, I see it for what it is now, and she was essentially kind of grooming me, and there was a lot of manipulation in it. There was no true sincerity in it. And, like she got me thinking about, like, I can't wait till you can be one of us. They're talking soon, soon, soon. It'll, they're going to bring it to Canada and I want you to be part of my team and blah, blah, blah. It finally came to Canada and it was October 1st, 2012. She actually told me about it about a month prior to that. And she said, we were just at a conference and they told us it's opening in Canada. Here's all the paperwork, get it filled out and then get your paperwork in October 1, 2012. You're with me. We can do this. Buy your challenge pack because then it's way cheaper to get started. And the whole shtick that I eventually was taught how to do later on. And that's how I got recruited into Beachbody, because I was just kind of willingly looking for, I was interested in the programs because I was going through some body image issues and I was looking for some solutions to deal with, losing some weight and working out and that sort of thing. And that's ultimately what kind of really got me started in the whole thing. And, then October 1, 2012, I was a coach and she was starting to invite me into her little groups in Facebook. And back then they used to run, I'm sure you've heard of these team calls and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we used to call into conference lines. Like there was no video calls. There was none of this. Like the calls that you see that are posted on YouTube, there was none of that. It was all conference lines. And there wasn't a 1-800 number, so we're calling an American number from Canada, racking up our phone bill.
Oh wow, I didn't even
think of that. Nightmare.
Oh my gosh! And of course you don't get.
Yeah, so it was. Oh, absolutely not. So you have to be, aware of that. I think I only ever, truthfully, one of hers, I only ever called into one of them, and then after that, I just would listen to the recordings afterwards because, there was scheduling problems. It's like, okay, we're going to do it at this time on this date. And it's like, dude, I have a life. Like, I can't just drop everything because you snap your fingers. And I think that's where I started to feel some of the friction that ultimately years later ended up with me exiting the way that I did.
Right. I mean, so you got in on the ground floor, I guess, in Canada, right?
I did. I'm one of the original, or I was, I should say, because I'm not anymore, but I was one of the original founding coaches from Canada.
Oh, wow. So you were at the top in Canada.
Well, it's not really the top. I was just one of the original crew, like the original ones that got started on day one.
Right.
I mean, the top are the ones, quote unquote, the ones who are at the top of the pyramid. And in my entirety of 7 years, I sat at the bottom of the pyramid. I made it to what was called an emerald coach, and I stayed there and I never went any further.
Okay. So even though you signed up in October of 2012, right when they, right whenever it was available to, people in Canada, you still stayed at that level. So that's very telling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started in 2012. I probably didn't hit Emerald until 2016. That's how long it took for me, because they were not overly transparent about how it all worked. It was invite people, invite them to work out, invite them to buy the product, invite them to, be part of it. And then if they're interested, get them to sign up for the discount. Like, it was all shaded under a guise of invite, but what that word actually meant was recruit. And it took a while to really figure that out, because they were so shady about it and they were so secretive about it. Like, I can count on both hands how many times I asked my upline and I said, how exactly do you do this? Give me a step-by-step format. I can follow it and I can do it. But she would always kind of pussyfoot around it and never give me exactly what I was asking for. So I was sitting there beating my head against the table trying to figure it out. And I know somebody listening is going to go, oh, well, she didn't work the business, or, oh, she just didn't put her all in it. And it's like, dude, there was a lot of sketchiness right from the start. And, you know,
You're trying to get
they
information
make comments
literally
on,
like by pulling teeth, like trying to get information. How do you do this?
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not like the typical job. Like, you know, you go and you work for a place, say like McDonald's, they take you to training, they show you how the grill works, they show you how to lay the burgers down, they take you to the burger assembly table, and they show you how every piece fits together and how it all works and how you shoot it down the line to the end result to the customer. Beachbody, not like that at all. Not at all.
Right. I mean, that's yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people are, oh, they just didn't work hard enough. You gave it all you had. I mean, if you were in for 7 years, like, obviously you thought that if you did work harder, or you thought you saw something in it, right, to be with it for that long and to stay at that status for that long, or was it just the psychological aspect of it, like you enjoyed having a group of people to where you felt like, oh, these are my girls, or you know what I mean, like how what kept you going
What kept me
like that?
going, I mean, there was kind of a twofold aspect of it. When I first got into it and I first started to meet the local coaches in the city that I was in, you know, I started to believe, oh, these are my friends, you know, I'm making new friends. I was at a time in Beachbody where I joined where I was very vulnerable.
Yeah, most
And
do.
that's what they prey upon, is your
Yeah.
vulnerability. I'd gone through a breakup, I was going into a new relationship, and that relationship was falling apart, and then I finally split with that person, and I believed that I could lean on these people for support and have this to support me. And you know, there was also things going on in the economy, and the job market was so unstable. So of course it's, you know, under the promise of you can replace your job, or you can do this instead and pay your bills, and in reality you don't. um but
Right.
there was kind
Yeah,
of
they
that,
sell that dream.
yeah, and it was kind of that twofold of, you know, there was something in it, and it was almost like, I would say it's equivalent to being brainwashed. Like you're
Yeah.
constantly, these people are constantly telling you these things, and you just start to believe it, and they hit you right where that vulnerability lies, where they know they can get under your
Yeah,
skin and make you believe it.
exactly.
But in reality, it's, you know, the people that I thought were my friends, even when we were at the big events, they, because they had rank event advanced higher than me, they looked down their nose at me like I was dirt. um you know, there was one who it was, oh, let's go for coffee. So I'd call her up and be like, hey, let's go for coffee, and she would never respond.
Oh my
And
gosh, so you were just a
that's,
number.
yeah, I was just a number. And as well, that's where I started to first observe how all consuming this became for some people, because it was all they would talk about. They would only want to talk about
Oh
Beachbody. They would
yeah.
only want to talk about
Hmm.
the business with you. They would only want to talk about all of these things. And yet I'm like, hey, I just read, you know, I just went and saw this Marvel movie and it was great. And they don't even want to talk about that. They just want to talk about Beachbody. And
Right, right.
it
The
was
biggest red flags
crazy.
ever.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, I was at a different mindset at that point too, because I was just, honestly, like, I would say the peak of it for me was 2014. I went to the first summit that I'd ever gone to, and I went at a time where I was depressed, I was
Mhm.
heartbroken, I was walking like shattered heart. Like literally at
Right.
summit I was crying over my breakup in private because I was still trying to cope with it, but I was trying to use this to mask the pain, like to give me something else to focus on. And at that point, it became a little bit of an obsession. Like I got really obsessed with the workouts, and you know, I dropped a bunch of weight in about 3.5 weeks because I just let it consume me. But it was the only thing that, you know, helped me to not sit and cry at night. Um,
Yeah.
but the things that kept me in was just this constant, like, honestly, I did desire the the chance to work from home and to kind of have that flexibility that they promise, like that was something that appealed to me, because it's just kind of it could be anybody's dream. You don't want to necessarily run back and forth to an office every day. And I was just, I was a bit younger too, and I was not settled like I am now. And they played on that too, and that's kind of what kept me in it for so long. And then just that continued belief of, oh, if I just give it some more time and really figure this out, then I'll be able to do it. And then of course the yearly trips were a big thing that kept me hooked into, because my first summit we went to Vegas, the next two we went to Nashville, and that was like the be all end all for me. I dreamed of going there since I was a kid, and finally it was a dream realized. The next year we went to New Orleans, and I didn't enjoy that very much, but that was my last summit. I only ever went. No, New Orleans is not a place I enjoyed very much, and there were a number of factors why.
Yeah.
But I only ever went to 4 summits, and of course it was, oh, I can go on these trips. But what followed me back was crushing debt.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you about. Because you went on all of these trips, but like, who were they really free trips? Like, who paid for these trips?
I never, ever, ever went on one of those supposed free trips. Those were the ones that you quote unquote earned, and you had to, I'm doing air quotes with my fingers here. You earned it through rank advancing by selling your soul and recruiting. Right. I only ever went to the yearly conferences, but I paid for everything. I paid for my hotel. And usually in the hotel, it wasn't you by yourself. We would split the room between 3 to 4 of us, cram as many as you could in to break down that cost.
Right.
And then of course the airfare, and I'm coming from Canada, so you would have to book
pretty far.
It was brutal. Like, probably I was spending at least $500 to $600 round trip, and I mean that's a lot in the grand scheme of things. Just on
this was years ago too.
It was years ago too, and you have to think about it. I'm Canadian flying into the U.S. and I'm paying U.S. prices for a lot of this, so the conversion rate as well is killing me.
Right.
So I'm paying, say $200 for a night in a hotel in the States. But when it converts back to Canada, that's about $350 for one night. When you go to these trips, and they have at the conferences, they call it Summit. So they have their shopping area. So what happens is there's all this merchandise, so the clothing, the accessories, anything you can think of. Like there were water bottles, backpacks, duffel bags, all kinds of stuff.
With Beachbody slapped on them, right?
Beachbody, Pio, Body Beast, whatever was hot at that time for a program, that's the merch you could go to buy. And, the lineups could be really crazy to get in to try and buy this stuff. And then they kind of streamlined the process a little bit. But what would happen is all of this merchandise then would be uploaded to the American access. But being in Canada, it wouldn't be there. It was like crickets. So we were going, well, how do people back home who can't come to Summit get this stuff? And it was basically, well, you just have to buy it while you're here. So buying this stuff and your supposed 25% discount, the conversion rate still caught up with you. Being from Canada, I was dropping anywhere between $400 to $600 alone on all of this stuff just to get it so that I could have it. They called it wear and share. So it's a marketing tool, wear it out everywhere. And then when people ask you about it, then you can tell them what it is and invite them, AKA recruit. And I totally got sucked into it. Now, luckily, when I chose to quit, I was able to sell off just about all of it. I only kept a few select pieces just because I did really like them. I can't condemn them because like I have a pair of crop pants that I bought in 2014. They still look brand new and they're really good quality material and they've lasted the test of time and I wear the crap out of them. But the price paid for them was not worth it. You know,
the company already has their money, so why not wear it, right?
Well, exactly. But it's still, the amount of money that was spent was just insane. And it probably wasn't until about, I want to say after the New Orleans summit in 2017 that they finally started uploading some of the clothing onto the website. You know, they would make you wait almost a month, but then it would be there. But even still, you're still paying, you know, a hefty price for this stuff. And then you pay for shipping on top of it. So it's shipping up from the States. And, you know, like a coat that's listed for $50, in the end, you're spending almost $80 with everything on it. So it was really expensive. And it was just another cash grab. And, you know, like from the money aspect, it was insane because you had to, so they tell you that you get a 25% discount every month. That 25% equates to exactly what you put right back in to your coach fee. Coach fee in Canada started about $14 a month. It was about $16, I believe, when I left. It had gone up a little bit. But basically, that's your 25% discount. So you're not really getting a discount. And the discount, you know, quote unquote, was applied to whatever product you had to buy every month to keep yourself active. And of course, being where I started, the only thing that you could buy to get yourself the proper personal volume level was the Shakeology shakes. And with the amounts, you know, you see the coaches out there say, oh, it's only $99 a month or whatever. No. In Canada, between the price change and everything else, it's $140 every month.
Even if it's $99 a month, that's expensive.
It's extremely expensive for this thing. And you know, I was one of the anomalies who actually liked it. So I can't, you know, cut it down and say it was gross. I actually liked it. I liked the taste of it. I was one of the weirdos. But
yeah, I don't think I've talked to anyone that liked it. But
it was one of those things, you know, you sit down and crunch. I was crunching my budget every month, and that was like, I must have this. But I'm looking at that cost now going, I was spending $140 a month on Shakeology. I was spending about $16 a month on the coach fee. So that's almost $166, $170 a month just to be active in this business. And what am I getting in return? Basically nothing, because I refuse to sell my soul to recruit. So in 7 years, and I tracked back through the numbers because I downloaded everything, like all my information before I officially quit. In 7 years, I made $1,300.
What?
I made about $1,300 in total.
I can't believe that.
Over 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you know, mostly I just had people who were customers. I never really pushed the business on anybody. I only ever had 2 people join me in about 2017. One was the guy that I was dating at the time, and the other one was a good friend who's now in a different MLM. But you know, they just wanted to do something to support me and kind of give me a little boost. And I was grateful for that. I never forced it on them. I didn't barf it all over them. They just wanted to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Wow, and that's how I achieved that Emerald status. But yeah, in the end, like, you make bupkis, like nothing off of this. And as much as they say, oh, it's you sell the products and you make a commission and blah 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 blah, no, the real money is in the recruitment, and then the downline recruiting to further boost you up. Because if they're doing their job, then you get to do a little bit less and reap the benefits. So it's all part of that pyramid structure. It's absolutely these coaches that are out there flaunting it, and they have these expensive houses and these expensive cars and blah blah blah. They are making the money off of the recruitment. They are not making the money off of anything else but that. Right. And many of them that you see, they're so high up in the pyramid now that, you know, that I don't even know anymore. I've been so detached from them, but it's at the time they were just so high up that it seemed like they were just doing nothing. You know, they were just kind of barking orders at you, like, oh, you got to do this, or they were guilting you as like, why aren't you doing this? Like, this is so easy. And yet it's like, you're not telling me what I need to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know,
that's because they were making it off of the ones who are losing it, and they're making money in their sleep while 99% of people are losing money.
Yeah,
it's being funneled up to them.
Yeah, it was disgusting, and that's part of the manipulation tactic that they use. They're like, well, look what I have. You could have this. You just have to work for it. It's like, okay, give me the recipe as to how it works, and then it would be crickets.
Yeah, that is disgusting. Like people at the very tippy top, and you know, of course, the founders, like they have to know. I mean, the founders, sorry, I'm yawning. Yeah, the founders know for sure that they're scamming people. And I think the ones at the top, they know they're just so indoctrinated and like, you know, I mean, it all boils down to money. So.
Yeah, and with money comes the ego, and with money comes the corruption. Mm-hmm. Like the egos of these people I mentioned earlier, it was, you know, I would see these people that were just starting out when I just started out, back when we were all friendly. Once they started to excel up the ranks, their egos started to inflate, and they looked at me like I was dirt. My own upline started to treat me that way too.
Yeah.
I was at a summit, and we went to a big photo op or whatever, and I approached her and I said, you know, like, it'd be really nice to have an opportunity to hang out. I said, can we sit together at tomorrow's sessions? And she said, oh yeah, absolutely. Save us some seats. I'll come sit with you, and we can hang out while we're attending the session. Okay, great. I attend the session the next day. I save a couple of seats. I'm texting her going like, hey, I've saved the seats. Where are you? Nothing.
What a bitch.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and that's awful, and that's mean. Like, y'all are adults. That's horrible.
It was heartbreaking. Like,
that's sad, yeah.
I was so heartbroken. This was somebody who, you know, essentially I looked up to, somebody who I thought was a friend.
Right.
You know, and she treated me like that. And, wow. You know, not even a quick text of, oh, sorry, I had to go to a different session, or I had to go do this. Just nothing. And I'm like, I would never, ever treat somebody that way.
Right. Screw her.
And
treat her anyway.
You know, I would say total mean girl. You know, now she's, you know, I would say karma wrapped around, she's divorced now. That's another thing that seems to be a virus that runs through these, is divorce.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because, you know, like a lot of people, most people, you know, they're told to fake it till they make it, if not all of them. So they can show off this house and these cars, but they're most likely in debt and losing money. And that does, you know, people get divorced over finances all of the time. It's like one of the leading factors in divorce.
Yeah, or the spouses finally wake up and go, I just, you know, I'm tired of this, because
I'm tired of you talking about it. Right. I'm tired of you talking about this constantly. Like, shut up about it. Or I just can't live with you.
Yeah, it's like, we have kids, let's focus on our kids, or hey, let's do something other than you feeling like you just have to put everything online, you know.
Right.
And that's the other part is you're pushed to basically vomit your life all over people, and you know, you're supposed to be relatable, but really you're not. And you know, it's, if you don't post this, or you don't do this, and you don't share this, then it's just, you're not going to get out there. And it's like, you sacrifice your privacy for this. And that was another piece that I had issue with.
Yeah, that's huge.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't be that transparent and put that much out there, because like, I value my privacy. That's why even now my social media channels are all private. And honestly, I have not posted a single social media post in almost 2 years.
Wow.
Since just before I quit, I have nothing out there. And that's part of the detox from it all too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's divorce runs through it like a virus. There's a lot of infidelity that runs through it like a virus. There's top coaches that willingly and flagrantly cheat on their spouses.
Yeah, it's awful.
I was approached and I was propositioned by one.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was the shadiest thing ever. And it was like,
People are
your
just,
wife is
oh
gonna find
God.
out.
Right. You don't want to be a homewrecker. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, I'm not like judging anybody, but like, kind of. But yeah, I mean, the thing, it's like, that brings me back to, I don't know if you listened to my episode I did, the story of Mirren Parker, because she was encouraged, of course, to put everything online about where she was going to be and what she could afford. And so she went to a concert and she put it online, and she was kidnapped and for like 8 hours, and she was raped. And it was because her MLM was telling her to put everything online and where she was. So yeah, it's very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous. Luckily, like, I was a bit wise to that, and I never ever posted something quite like that put me in a dangerous place.
Thank goodness.
You know, I was quite wise about that from the get-go, and I never left myself vulnerable to that degree. But I mean, if you were to look back through some of my old posts from around that time, you will definitely see some language that was what they taught you to do.
Mm-hmm.
But mine were always quite a bit different too, because I couldn't get past putting myself and, you know, myself out there, and putting myself out there to a degree where something could happen like that. I just couldn't do it.
Right.
There was always that nagging voice in the back of my head. I'm more aware of what it was now than I was when it was actually happening. You know, that's that self-realization that came out.
Yourself is telling you don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart. I mean, yeah, and like, I mean, so your like, what did your family say when you were in this? Did they even say anything to you about this? Did they think it was a pyramid scheme, or what did they say?
You know, it was really funny. The only person who ever challenged me on it once in 7 years, only once, was my dad. And there was one day where I was talking about it, and he says, well, it sounds like a pyramid scheme. And of course, my response was you know, you're conditioned to say it. It's not a pyramid scheme. The corporate world's a pyramid, and blah, 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 blah.
Pyramids are illegal.
Yeah. And that was the only time anybody ever challenged me on it. Everybody else kind of, but I mean, I wasn't one of those pushy, self-absorbed coaches. You know, like, I wasn't looking to just barf it on everybody. You know, I brought it. I would bring it up if somebody was like, "Well, I'm looking for something to do." I said, "You know, I do this. If you're interested, let me know." But that's where I would drop it. Like, as soon as I kind of just said, "Hey, if you want to know, ask me the questions," but I'm not going to be pushy, because I mean, even when I had a semi-sales job, I didn't like being pushy. I wanted somebody to have a real conversation with me about it,
be authentic with it.
Yeah, and then just make their own you know, assumptions and conclusions about it, and make their own decision, like a well-informed decision. Now, the thing that made it tough back then is, of course, now we've got the anti-MLM community, and more of us speaking out about these companies. That didn't exist back in the day when you would first Google this opportunity or this company. Like, there was nothing out there to the contrary. Rather, it was just everything about, this is what it, you know, here's Beachbody, here's their website, here's the coaches' sites, and it looks so good. But now when you Google it, you get a lot more of the anti-MLM stuff popping up, and it's more, you know, there's more information out there to make a more well-rounded judgment,
informed decision. That's
informed decision.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Whenever you decided to leave, did anyone try to get you to stay, like your uplines, or I mean, you didn't have like.
It's really
Go ahead.
it's really funny about that. Nobody knew that I was leaving before I did. I
Oh.
kept it so hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had expressed at one point frustrations to my original upline, and I said, you know, I am finding that I'm not connecting with this. I'm really having trouble being part of this. Like, I really need some guidance. Like, I really need to have a proper conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't even really take the time to do that. She
Mm-hmm.
responded to an email and she sent me a voice note, I think on like Facebook or something. Like she couldn't arrange like half an hour to have a phone call with me, which was another factor that really pissed me off, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And so when I started to make the decision that it was like, okay, I'm going to peace out, like I've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
By that point, I had decided I'm going to drop out as a coach, stay as a customer, because I was still using the online workout platform, but I was like, I'm done with the shakes. I'm done with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just decided, and I decided to kind of make it like, you know, ceremonious or momentous or whatever. And I decided to quit on the exact 7-year anniversary of the day that I joined.
Oh, wow.
That's what I did.
That's
so
pretty
I
clever.
filed the paperwork. Yeah, I did it and I quit. And even when the cancellation and everything finally went through, I never heard a word from her. Nothing.
Oh.
No, like, oh, I see you quit. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. She was just like, I don't care.
Wow.
And I was talking to another coach that was higher up as well. She was kind of similar ranked, but I was talking to her. I'd met her at one of the conferences and I just said, look, like my own upline is really not doing it for me, but I'd like to have somebody to just kind of hold my customer account just while I stick around for the workouts. And, you know, I would like you to be the one. And she actually responded and she would actually have conversations with me. And, you know, they weren't too self-indulgent. They felt a little more real, which again, you know, hindsight's 2020, and everybody who's seen it has seen Kiki Chanel's video because she's in that one that went viral.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I flipped my customer account over to her, but then she started in. So she's like, oh, just attend this call or whatever, like Lord. A customer call.
Nope.
So I kind of did because it was quarantine, and it was quarantine. And
oh, you did? Oh.
Yeah, because I just wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah,
and of course, like,
but you weren't gonna like join.
No, but being an ex-coach, I'm like, I can see right through her, and I was kind of like, dude. But it, you know, she would drop these nuggets, but I mean, as well, we just kind of sit there and shoot the shit, which was kind of fun while you were in quarantine.
Right, you don't have anything else to do.
No, and it was such a weird time last year. But then what put the nail in the coffin with her was A, Kiki's video, and B, she actually then flagrantly flaunted her ego at me on a Facebook message. I was just like, oh, well, you know, I make 6 figures doing this, so it just makes me think that anybody can do it. And I'm just like, holy crap, woman. So made a flip again. I got a hold of one of my really good friends she was a little more grounded and normal per se. And I flipped my customer account to her because I said, look, I'd rather have somebody who's like kind of within my own city, who, you know, I have a friendship outside of all of this. And, you know, even when I did that other woman never heard a peep, nothing, absolutely nothing. So, you know, it was really, to me, it's just, I look back and I kind of laugh at how I made it happen. But I felt so disconnected, and I was really becoming extremely resentful of the coaches that were so successful It's like, oh, I can go and do this. I can go buy this house and I can have this life. And here I am. I'm drowning in debt, worried about if I'm going to get a job or not to pay my bills, how I'm going to pay all my bills. And the thing that kept me from slipping back into it was just this feeling of being absolutely revolted by the recruit. It's so inauthentic and really slimy to just look at people that way and go, I really don't care about your life or whatever. I just want you to join so that I can make all this money.
Right. That's what it is.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I quit. I kind of slid out the back door without anybody really noticing.
Right. All right. So, like, if anyone's listening, you heard her story. Do not join this MLM or any other MLM, because this is what these people do. They can look like, your best friend, like they're making it, but they're slimy people and they're not your friends. Stay away from them.
Yeah, they really are not your friends. They really, as much as they're like, hey, you're part of my team and you can be a boss babe, which is a phrase that even to this day makes me want to puke.
Yes.
They're not your friends. They're not the people who, when you're going through a breakup and you want to harm yourself just because you want to feel something other than that heartbreak pain.
Right.
They're not the ones who are going to be running to your door to help you. They're not the ones who are going to sit on the phone with you at 2:00 in the morning when you're crying, having a mental breakdown. Right. They're not the ones who are going to, we're in a pandemic. They're not the ones who are going to come to your door with supplies because, God forbid, you contracted this thing. Right. And you can't go anywhere. They're not the ones who are going to be there for you, because unless you are uplifting their bottom line, you are dirt to them and they just do not care.
Exactly.
So as much as they promise these things and as much as they make it appear on social media, like social media is the guise, and they make it appear like we're besties and we're in each other's worlds and we talk all the time, and in reality it's so fake. It
fake. Yeah.
False.
That's awful. That's awful. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, but I'm so glad that you were out. 7 years is such a long time. And within that time frame, I'm sure that you've grown as a person, and I do appreciate you raising awareness about this. Like, there's no telling about how many people you can help just by sharing your story.
Well, it's the only thing that we can do, is we can continue to speak out, and quite frankly, a silent voice is a wasted voice, and this is a major issue because they're becoming more and more relentless. Like, World Financial Group stalks people through LinkedIn, and now
I know.
They're stalking you on the job boards.
The neighborhood app.
Yeah, and you go through Instagram, and Instagram, they're hiding their quote unquote opportunity in the highlights on their profiles, but then their ads pop up and it's like, hey, work from home and do this. Every single one of those that I see, I report them as spam and fraud, which all of us should do, because that's the only way we're going to get them taken down.
Right.
I mean, the lingering effects of all of this is like toxic positivity. Like, it gives me these anxiety feelings. Like, it's absolutely horrible. I still have a horrible relationship with food, thanks containers, and I still have issues with my body and my self-worth. It's not been quite 2 years yet, and I still have these issues. I'm still deprogramming the way that I think about my body.
And that was the very reason that you even started, was because of that, to like get, to feel better about yourself. And when in turn, it did more harm than anything. And gosh, I really hate that. I hate that so bad.
It was detrimental to my health. I mean, quite frankly, eating about 1,200 calories and working out excessively as they say you need to, that's not healthy.
No, they're not nutritionists. They're not dietitians.
No, and then they try to give you health advice or nutrition advice, and it's like, dude, you don't have the credentials or the education. It's the same as the World Financial Group representative. They do not have the education to be giving this advice or selling these products. This, even though it's a regulated industry, these are people who just walk in off the street to a BPM meeting, which is the business product meeting, because they were brought in by somebody who's looking to recruit them into the pyramid. And they do not have the proper education to be dealing with people's financial matters. World Financial Group screwed me out of $3,000.
Oh my gosh.
You know, here's this life insurance plan that's going to set you up to take care of you when you get older, but oops, we forgot to tell you that you need to be making at least 6 figures for this thing to actually be valid for you.
That reminds me of Primerica.
It's the same thing. They are both the same company under 2 different names.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting. And
it is.
Beachbody is just as bad. It's just
they're all horrible.
And
they're all awful. And that's why I encourage everyone to research. Like, just research as much as you can, because it falls on us. It falls on the consumer. I mean, they're going to tell you amazing things, but once you just a simple Google search will show you, you know, how
Google search, YouTube search. I'm going to say Google. They try to bury it in Google with the SEO, but YouTube, if you put it into YouTube, you're going to get more informed results. I think you're going to get somebody like, you know, you're going to get the Kiki Chanel videos, and trust me, she does her research and she's got excellent sources. You're going to get people like Megan Sip or Deanna Mims, or you know, you're going to get those gals.
Just hashtag anti-MLM and
absolutely, you know, like listen to those of us who were actually in it and we have experienced it from the inside. You know, we're telling you the back end that they don't show you and they don't tell you about until they've got their claws in. But by the time they hook you with their claws, that's when the indoctrination has started. That's when the manipulation has started. And, you know, while you're researching, keep that open mind and ultimately make the decision that is right for you. I will, you know, my advice to anybody who would want to join Beachbody is just don't do it. Seriously, it's not worth it. There's so many other things that you can do out there. Any MLM, don't do it. It's just, the facts are out there. We're telling you what actually happens in these companies, and don't let the materialistic dream blind you to the alienation that eventually it's gonna happen, and the damage that you're gonna do to yourself in the process, whether it's physical, mental, or both, and to the people around you. In the end, if you do choose to go forward with it, that's your choice, and we won't condemn you for it. We're not going to attack you as a person.
Yeah, we're not here to shame anyone. Like, we're here to help and to educate, you know.
We absolutely, we want to educate you so you can make the right decision. But in the end, just know that we're going to be here to support you when you choose to get out. You know, reach out to us and we'll wrap our arms around you. Go, girl.
Absolutely.
We understand. Or dude, we understand. And we're here to help you move forward with it and heal this damage that you're going to do. It's like the analogy of the hot stove. When we're kids, they're like, don't touch it, it's harm, it's gonna hurt you. And we look up at our parents and go, and so we reach out and touch it, we burn our hands, and we get a burn and we get hurt. And you know, the parent looks down and he says, well, now you see what we were telling you. But then they take you in their arms and give you a hug and a kiss and wipe your tears. And
that's such a great analogy. I love that. Yes.
Yeah, you know, then they're there to comfort you in the end. And that's what we're here for as well.
Absolutely.
We're here to tell you our story, and we're here to give you this information because we know firsthand from having experienced it and touched these things. But just know that if you decide to go through with it and experience it for yourself, and then you decide that I can't do this and this doesn't fit with me, and I can't sell my soul to the devil for this, you step back and come out of it. We're going to be standing here waiting to help you heal that and move forward and get back to, you know, a proper normal, what I would call a proper normal life, where you're free from that level of indoctrination. Like, as much as the denouncers try to say, you know, these videos that are out there and say they were doctored, they're false, this is not what actually happens. These videos that are showing, especially these team calls, that's what happens. You are berated, you are talked down to, you are basically pressured to do all of this, and it's not okay. It's just not okay. So the more of us that can raise our voices against these companies, I think the louder the noise we can make, the more change that can be affected. And there has to be some change.
Right. So well said. So well spoken. So well said. That was amazing. That was so amazing. So I mean, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And I just want to thank you so much again for being a guest and for sharing your story. I know that it's gonna change someone, and if anyone's listening, please share this with someone you know who's with Beachbody or with any MLM for that matter. And you know what, maybe we could, just let them know we are here for them. And I'm glad that that Tara put that in there. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here for you to help you when it's time to get out. And if you're looking to get out, reach out to us and we will help you and guide you to get out of those. Even if you have to do what I did and just slide out the back door to be able to sleep through the night without the anxiety and the pressure and those feelings of doubt of your self-worth. You're worth more than that company. You got this and we're here for you.
Right, 100%. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that everyone will be back here Monday for another episode.